Hi, I'm Leah, and this is my weekly podcast where we have a discussion about a t-shirt from my band t-shirt collection. I live in Adelaide and I record on Ghana land. This week we're going to talk about a t-shirt that is more than 10 years old. Again, this one is Soundgarden. That's right. Look how big that writing is. Anyway, we're back to black t-shirts. This is it is a short sleeve t-shirt. It is all black, and across the top it says in very big writing, all capitals, Soundgarden. And then underneath that is a picture of like 4 bones kind of interconnected. And they look like they're on little dots or stars. I feel like they're stars. I always felt like they were stars when I looked at them. That might be wrong. And the border is kind of like a distressed block outline. So it's not fully like squared off, but it's got like little breaks in it. But anyway, that is all in white print. So the Soundgarden and all of the print is in white. So it's a great simple design choice, right? Black and white works perfectly. And then on the back, it's got again Soundgarden, and then it has the dates on it. So this was from the big day out in 2012, where I saw them here on the 3rd of February in 2012 in Adelaide. So they did 2 shows in Melbourne and Sydney. I don't know now whether they were 2 big day outs or whether maybe one was a standalone show. I think Sydney for a while was getting double big day outs, but I reckon one of those ones in Melbourne might have been a sideshow. I don't know. Look, I didn't go to those. I went to the one in Adelaide. So anyway, it's a pretty nice t-shirt. At the time, I remember I got 2. I got one for me and one for my brother, and then we had to decide who got which one. And I reckon he got the one that had like I think it was like a wolf on it, like baying, like anyway. Look, you know what a wolf looks like. Anyway, I think that's the one that he got, and so I kept this one. But to be honest, I liked both of them. I mean, look, I wouldn't have got them if I didn't like them both. But anyway, so I'm gonna pop the t-shirt up, and then we can continue. It is a little bit cold today, so I'm not wearing the t-shirt again. I'm putting it here instead so you can look at it throughout the show. I still don't have anything to put it on, so it's back on a Lego box. Anyway, I guess I do have something to put it on. What I mean is I don't have anything that looks more like a body to put it on. So anyway, I have seen Soundgarden twice at a big day out and Chris Cornell once at a standalone show, but I will talk about the Chris Cornell show at another day in another episode because I have a Chris Cornell t-shirt, so we can talk about that solo stuff a little bit later on. And today we'll just be talking about Soundgarden. So they first played at a big day out in 1994. I didn't go to that one because it was just a little pup then, so I didn't get to go to that one. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't reckon I would have even known that the big day out was a thing then. The first time I saw them was at the 97 big day out. I had been to a couple of concerts before then, but I had never been to anything. I'd never been to anything like that, right? Never a festival, and never like that type of music either. It was like nothing that I had ever seen before. So Adelaide big day outs were always on a Friday. They were never on the weekend or a public holiday. The other cities used to get the weekends or the Australia Day / Invasion Day public holiday. We didn't. We always got a Friday, and I think that's because they knew we would just take the day off here, and we did. So for me though, I wasn't taking the day off of work. I was taking the day off of school because I was still at school then, and this was supposed to be the last big day out. There wasn't going to be another one after this. So my brother got me the ticket for Christmas. The year before, I had won a ticket from, I think, a Black Thunder. Like the radio vehicles that used to go around and give away things. Anyway, I won a big day out ticket from one of the trucks. But look, I was probably too young to go, and I didn't have any friends who were going. There was no way I would have felt like I could go by myself at that stage, right? I was too young. But my brother had friends who were going, and so I just gave the ticket to him. Now I look back at it and I think, Jesus, like, because Rage Against the Machine played that year, but Porno for Pyros were also playing that year. They were the other headline act. And my brother is a big fan of theirs and also Chains Addiction. So, look, he would have loved it. He would have loved seeing them. Also, like, he's my big brother, so I don't regret giving him the ticket. And it was supposed to be the last ever big day out. And my brother had given me the ticket for Christmas, and my older sister was going to be taking me. And so even though it was a school day, my mum let me take the day off of school. Like, to be honest, like, it was one day, I think, in the first week of school. So it wasn't like, who cares? Anyway, right? The first week, who cares? Anyway, afterwards, my mum did have to write a note saying that, yes, she knew where I was and I had her permission to attend. So she was like, fine, whatever, they can go. Later on, once we knew that the Big Day Out was going to continue, Big Day Out tickets as Christmas presents became a fairly standard thing in my family. You gave them and you got them, and that probably went on for about 10 years, which is pretty great, right? Because you always think like, oh, what should I get? Blah, blah. Ooh, I know. I'll be Day Out ticket. But you had to be quick though, because if someone else got in before you, you'd have to think of something else because somebody else already was doing the tickets. For a few years, I reckon it was my mum got them for everyone. That was her thing then. They came from mum. But I think anyway that the Big Day Out was then and remains the premier like festival event in Australia. Artists always seem to enjoy themselves when they were here. You never heard anything about artists not getting paid or being really disgruntled about how things ran, or any of the other negativity that you sometimes hear from other festivals. The stages were spread out enough so you didn't have that kind of sound overlap. Like, there were schedule clashes, but there will always be schedule clashes. If you have more than one stage area, there's always going to be a clash. You can't get away from that. But it was multi-genre, and so everyone was there because it had music for everyone, because it had a boiler room, and then it had all these outdoor stages too. So you had like rave kids, like the leather-clad sleep placebo kids, the long-haired metal kids, the indie kids, like all of the kids all together, and really not a lot of trouble. There didn't really seem to be any issues there. It was pretty good. It was pretty well behaved, and people just seemed to get along because it was just such a great time. And I mean, obviously you get the odd dickhead, but you get the odd dickhead everywhere. But I just think it was the best. I've been to a couple of other festivals around, but I don't think anything comes close to it, and I will fight to defend that position. Like, I'm not a very good fighter, but I'll fight anyway. So 97 was also the year that OMC was going to be playing at the Big Day Out. Now, if you don't remember, they were one hit wonder who had the song How Bizarre. Now, the singer from there was Nguyen, right? So I was supposed to meet my brother there, and we were supposed to watch together. Anyway, I'm pretty sure he was watching Powderfinger at the time, and he did not make it there, but I did, and I got to see How Bizarre. I'm not sure what time. It was still light, it was still sunlight, but it's still pretty sunny in Australia, pretty late in the day in the summer. That Prodigy came on one of the main stages, and I was there with my sister, and we were what we thought was a reasonable amount of space back from the mosh pit, so we would be fine. Anyway, just to let you know, we were wrong, because when the Prodigy started, there was this compression of people, and so we expected some compression, right? So we were like quite a way back from where we thought would be the edge of the mosh pit. Oh no, it just went, the whole crowd just moved, just really squashed in, and it was electric, right? Because Keith is like kind of like across the stage, like with this voodoo people, and like down low, and like, oh man, it was incredible. And the music is, because Prodigy is so intense. It's got that great thumping beat, and you're just sitting there going, oh my god. And you got to remember too, right? And that's a kid at this stage. I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced anything like this. Now I'm in this mosh pit and I can't believe it. And I'm going up and down with the crowd and I have no idea where my feet are going because it's a mess down there. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe how good this is. Anyway, I look down. My sister's a little bit shorter than me. Quite a bit shorter than me. And anyway, I look down. She looks like she's about to pass out, right? She's not getting any air. Because for me, I'm still getting air when I go up and down with the crowd, but she's not getting up enough to get any air. So anyway, they grab her, pull her out of the crowd. But it actually felt mind blowing because I'd never seen anything like that and I'd never experienced anything like that. And even though we didn't expect to end up in the mosh pit, it was still such an amazing experience, and that is one of my strongest individual memories from a big day out because I'd never seen or felt anything like that before. And I know if you grew up in a different era, you might be like, oh, well, yeah, of course. Don't you know how things work? No, I didn't. You have to remember too, like this was before YouTube. You didn't just go on to the TV and just Google different like events and be like, oh, I'll just watch. What do they do at blah, blah, and then just see what's going on there. There was none of that available. The only way you learned about things was by being at the thing or someone who had been at the thing telling you about the thing. That was it. There was no communal source of information that you could go to learn these things. You learned them there. At the time when you squashed into a crowd of people going insane about Prodigy. I mean, this was like Fat of the Land time too, right? It was incredible. Keith with his great hair and Liam's just, oh man. I don't know. I'm so grateful I got to see Prodigy. I am. And I'm so grateful that it was one of the first bands that I ever really saw in that kind of context too, because it was amazing. So, I don't remember a huge amount now about the rest of the day. And it's not because the rest of the day wasn't memorable or anything like that. That one I remember standing out because it was such a significant thing. I'd never experienced anything like it. Anyway, what it also... when we saw Soundgarden, we were further back, much further back this time, like probably halfway down the oval, if not further back. But I kind of remember them coming out, but then I don't really remember a lot more after that. And again, this isn't because Soundgarden were not memorable or they didn't put on a good show. Like, of course they would have. No, anyway, it turns out I had heat stroke. So I didn't know this at the time, obviously, because I was still out and about and still thinking everything was fine. But by the time I got home, I was a bit, not great. But I was pretty sick the next 2 days. I had full-on headaches. I was very lethargic. I was sunburnt. I was not in a good way. Yeah, it's because I had heat stroke. Because during the day, because you got to remember, right, probably would have got there at like 11 o'clock. It would have been, because since it was Adelaide in February, it would have been like 35 plus. Could have been anywhere like even 40 plus. And I would have been out all day in that. And so by the time Soundgarden came on and they were last, oh mate, I would have worn my little self out. Anyway, so I don't really remember a lot. And now I can tell you right now, there's no other external influences. It was just the sun. It was, Australian summers are no joke, right? They're really not. And you know, again, I was a little pup. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea how to plan for a day like that because I'd never been to anything like that. So, anyway, I don't remember much after the Prodigy, and that's because I was too hot. I'd gotten way too hot. Isn't that such a lame thing, though? What happened? Well, I got a heat stroke. Jesus. I do remember one thing though after it, like probably the week after it, talking to some people at school, and one of the girls who went there, she was talking to me about the Jesus Christ pose and how it was like she didn't really like that or something along those lines, that it was pretty controversial to be doing something like that. And I remember thinking at the time, that was weird. Why is she saying this to me? It's weird. Now, I did go to a Catholic school, but still, it's weird. Like, we didn't really talk like that. So anyway, it's not what the song is about. It's not anti-Christian or anything like that. It was just weird though. Anyway, that's unfortunately for me, all that I really remember from that day is them coming out on the stage and then someone telling me that Jesus Christ Pose was a weird song choice. So the 2012 Big Day Out lineup is announced. It has Soundgarden as one of the headliners and Kanye West is one of the other headliners. Now, at some point, he cancels some of the shows, which includes Adelaide. Now, to be honest, I didn't really remember caring too much at the time that he wasn't going to come here. But now, I'll tell you what, I'm even gladder I never gave him $1. I do remember being annoyed, though, that we were only going to have one of the main big stages and we were going to have a half pipe on the Oval instead. And this seemed demented to me because this is the main staging area. So at the Adelaide Showgrounds, on the Oval part, which is the one where there's the grandstand and all of that, it's the main staging area for the festival, and it always had 2 large stages, and that is so that they could go from one to the other and set up one artist while another played and then switch, and there was never a delay between them. So it seemed demented to me that on the main staging area they would have a single stage, because it would mean that they would set up the band would play, then they would have to break down all of their equipment, set up the new stage, and there would just be this dead space in the main area of the festival. I was like, who would do this? This seems so demented. Like, half pipe or no, right? There needs to be another stage. Anyway, in the end, they did set up another stage. So if this is the Oval, and this is where that was terrible. If this is the Oval, and this is where the stage was, here is where the half pipe was, and here is where they set up a secondary smaller stage, and it was much smaller, but what it did allow them to do was to rotate between those 2 stages, so they had that bump in and out for each artist, which obviously made more sense. I do remember at the time being annoyed that they thought that Tony Hawk was an acceptable substitute for a musical act, because this is a music festival and we would like to see musicians please, right? So having him there and not trying to get another musician or other headliners just seemed like a strange choice to me. Anyway, I'll tell you this, I was very wrong. Obviously, right, I knew that Tony Hawk was cool. I'm not an idiot, I live in the world. I knew he was cool, but having him there, like, I remember watching him and Sandra Diaz on that half pipe thinking, holy shit, this is so good. And the Living End were playing on the stage next to them, so you're listening to Prisoner of Society, watching them and just thinking like, this is amazing. What a great time. I was very wrong. This is a very great time. And even though I had on a hat and sunscreen, I obviously didn't apply my sunscreen enough or reapply it. But also my face got burnt because I was like this. I was just like that, just watching like that the whole time that they were on because it was so good. And I found actually a photo a couple of days afterwards, and I'll see if I can find it now, where they've taken like a bird's eye view back down of the crowd. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. That's me. I can see my red hat because I was just standing there like, oh my God, holy shit, look at that. Now, Tony Hawk wasn't on there all day. Obviously, that's a big ask. They had different people on there all throughout the day. But yeah, seeing them, because Sandra Diaz, I think is like a specialist in very high ones, you know. What great terminology I'm using here, you know, but like that's one of his things. Like, he's really good at that, and he was really good at it. It was amazing to see, and it was so cool. And yeah, like I said, and you're standing there watching them, listening to live music, it was so good. Oh man, it was so good. Anyway, I was very wrong, and it was a very good choice. I go to this big day out on my own because whilst people had expressed an interest in going, nobody had actually bought tickets or organised to go. But I had, because I was like, oh, I'm not missing out on Soundgarden. I saw them once before and I have no memory of it. I'm going, and I didn't really care if no one else is going. So anyway, no one else was going, but I didn't mind. I had such a good time, right? Because like I said, see Tony Hawk, I'd never seen Tony Hawk live before. Then, you know, listening to The Living End while that's playing. I see My Chemical Romance on the main stage. That's so good. Because, you know, I don't know how long after that they broke up. And, you know, and they only did that kind of return tour, was it last year? Anyway, it was a pretty long break in between shows anyway. And then on the way out, I saw Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds on a different stage after Soundgarden. So, like, I had a pretty good day, even by myself. And I would recommend, if you want to see a thing and no one else wants to see a thing, just go and do it anyway. I think I do have some photos. I remember I took some. I know I've got at least one or two, but if I can find the SD card that has the rest of them, I will smush in some photos. But when it is Soundgarden time, this time I'm heaps better prepared than any other years, right? There's been quite a few years in between festivals by now, like more than 10. So I have kept hydrated, even, yes, I did burn my face at Tony Hawk, but that was an anomaly. But, you know, I've been hydrated. I've taken little breaks in the cooler areas. Like, I'm going to see Soundgarden and I'm going to remember it. So, and when it's getting ready for them to start, I make my way towards the front of the stage. Something I would almost never do at a big day out, because usually, like, it's so busy, it's too big. And it's like, it's too much. And I was like, nah, not this time. I'm getting in there. So I did. I mushed my way through. I get to about the second row. There's like one person in front of me. I put my backpack in front of me. And I'm like, I'm fully ready up this stage to defend my position. Like, you know what? If things go bad, just quickly chuck your glasses in your bag. And then just, you know, take care of business. Anyway, that's fine. That's totally fine. I do not have to defend my position with any real rigour. I can just enjoy the show. And it is, oh my God, it's so amazing, right? Because I am, as close as I am, I'm on Kim's side. I get to see his guitar work up close, which is incredible. I mean, he is an elite guitarist and I'm right close to it like this. Oh my God, how good is this? And it was so good. And then there's Chris, and his voice is just booming out, and what seems effortless. You know, when you see him, he doesn't his body doesn't seem to put in as much effort as I feel like a body needs to make the sound that he makes. Like, just the control in his voice, the depth of it, and the sound, it's so strong. I don't think there are a lot of singers that sing the way that he does, with that incredibly powerful voice, the range in it, the smoothness of it, but the power of it, the way that it just feels like it comes from nowhere, but is it's incredible. He's incredible. And this time I do remember seeing him, do remember hearing him, and I just thought, man, this is... how lucky am I, right? Here I am, right up the front, listening to this, just soaking it in, just doing whatever I want. This is the best. So I will add the set list down below. But, you know, imagine this set, right? Because it had Fell on Black Days, The Day I Tried to Live, Black Hole Sun, Rusty Cage, Burden in My Hand, Super Unknown, Spoon Man, of course Spoon Man. Incredible, right? And they got a pretty long set too, because Kanye didn't come to Adelaide, and I can't remember now if they considered another one to be a headliner, because usually they had 3 headliners, but sometimes they only had 2. But they got a longer set, right? Because I think they were the primary headliner when it got to Adelaide. Because, yeah, anyway, how lucky is that though? So we got a much longer set than what we would have got if we'd been in another city, or if they had gotten replacement headliners for us. So, man, what a day. There's me just right up the front. What a time. Anyway, man, it was so good. This was so good. Just really miss that type of outdoor music experience. Especially someone like that. You know, I was looking at an article and it was talking about, call them the 4 pillars. What was it? No, it was the big 4 of grunge. Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and of course Soundgarden. For me, it feels like there's a timelessness in their music. But that could also be because the music you listen to when you're a teen in those formative years, it's so impactful because it's linked to so much change and growth, and so it feels timeless. But also I think it's not just that it feels timeless. I feel like it actually is timeless. I think you could put it on and you'd be like, hey, listen to this. And it's incredible. It's incredible to listen to. So, my favourite songs. I probably have more than 2, but I'm just going to stick to 2. One is Burden in My Hand. That is because the intro to this is so explosive. When Chris says that, follow me into the desert as thirsty as you are, I just think, yes, I will. I'll follow him. I'll follow that voice wherever it goes. I like to think of it, how when you watch a cartoon and the cartoon smells like a pie or something cooling on the bench and it goes, and then it just floats along, like with its feet off the ground, just floats towards the pie. I feel like that's me, but like not to a pie. But like just following my ears, like just hearing that Chris Cornell voice and being like, oh, just floating along after. I'd follow that into a desert. And the second one is Spoon Man. I like this one for lots of reasons. Like, firstly, it's a good song, but one of the things I really like about it is it reminds me of just spending time with some of my friends and having a backyard party at their place. And one of them, he would always get 2 spoons to play, like 2 spoons, and then put them back to back. So the scoop of the spoon. If you don't know how to play spoons, like I do, like I'm an expert in spoon playing, but they have to go back to back, and like the cave bit of the spoon has to hit the other cave bit of the spoon like that. Jesus Christ, that was the worst. Anyway, then you do your thing with them, flick them, put them on your knee, whatever, flick them, and you play the spoons, right? And so my mate, he would always play the spoons, and oh my God, it started belching down with rain again. He would play the spoons because we would put it on and then be like yelling, Spoon Man, Spoon Man, and then also knowing that at the end of every time he did it, he would just throw the spoons into the backyard. And so my other friend, his now wife, would be like, don't throw the spoons this time. And we'd be like, yeah, don't. I know, what a full-on jerk. But it was fun. I don't mind. Look, I'm sure she didn't really mind either, even though she probably at one point got down to having like 3 spoons. It is really raining. And I don't know how much is getting picked up by the mic, so... No, I also don't know when it's going to stop. So we'll just keep going and maybe just have the pitter-patter of rain in the background. So a band that I wish I'd seen. So we've talked about Audio Slave before when we talked about Rage Against the Machine, which again is an obvious answer here. And again, it's the one that I wish that I'd seen because with Chris passing away in 2017, obviously unable to see them now. But I was actually thinking... I wish I could see Soundgarden again. Oh, of course, like they are so good. Of course, I wish I could see them again. But I wish I could see them again and take my mum. After years of joking to us, because I have, if you don't know, I have 3 siblings, of joking to us that she wanted to go to the big day out and she was going to wear a t-shirt that had all of our faces printed on it and say like, I'm looking for my kids, and be like, ha ha ha, good joke. So when she said to me that she wanted to go in 2012, I was like, ha ha ha, of course you do. But she did like Soundgarden, and she still does. And she actually really did want to go. I didn't know this at the time. She didn't tell me that properly that she really wanted to go until afterwards. And it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it now. But look, obviously I didn't stop her from going. I'm not a monster and I'm not in charge of the world. But I do wish I could take her now because they're so incredible live, and I know that she would really appreciate it. They are incredible musicians and they have such a great performance chemistry, and yeah, like I said, she would have really appreciated it. And so much of the foundation of music that I have comes from my mum. When I was a kid, she played us music that she loved when she was younger, and that was like Rolling Stones, Led Zepp, Deep Purple, like that's what she played to us, and that rock music that she played was such a grounding for me because rock is still something I really enjoy. It's probably the genre that I I don't know if I like the most or I relate the most. I don't know. It's the one I think that I always come back to. Always. I'll flit into other genres, but I always come back to rock. Or a variation of rock, which is easy, right? Because it's a pretty broad genre, covers a lot of things. So it's a bit cheeky to say that's my one genre. Anyway, look, to be fair, she also played us some rubbish too. And, you know, it wasn't all great British rock. But she did have, or still does, have a very wide appreciation of a lot of genres of music, including great ones and some rubbish ones, like other people do too. But because of that, I wish that I could see Soundgarden, and that I could take her to see them too. That looks just like I'm wearing it, doesn't it? Anyway, thanks for joining me today for Band T-Shirts with Leah. This is a band T-shirt, this is Leah, and this is goodbye. Bye.